host today. I'm a serenity expert and positive intelligence specialist, and this show is called It's All Good. Look who's here for a chat. And I come here every Monday and I bring a guest for you to get different information about different avenues. Like I've had people that are photographers, I've had accountant, I've had woo 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 person that talks about the energy in the body. So there's a whole bunch of people that come here, and I love them all because they all bring their little gems of information. And before we go even further, I would like to invite you to subscribe to my YouTube channel because I'm here every week, but sometimes you might miss the show. You might miss scrolling up and see the previous show. If you go to my YouTube channel and click on subscribe, you will receive a little notice, a little tag on your cell phone or on your when you go to YouTube, you'll see that there's new videos, and then you can come and check all the episodes. So just subscribe at youtube.com/ at Denise Bellil, and you can subscribe to my channel. Also, if you, after watching this show and you say, oh, I'd love to be on the show with Denise, well, book a call with me. It's tiny.cc/ talk with Denise. Or anytime that you feel also that, I have a few issues and maybe Denise can help me because I love what she says about this, this, and that. Well, book a call with me also. And then we can have a chat and see if I can help you in any way, or maybe I know someone that can. So don't be shy. Just come and check me out. Let's have a call and it'll be great. So how do I call this show It's All Good? Well, first of all, it's my favorite cup. It's all good. I know it's backward, but it's all good. And when I was looking for the name for that show, that came to me. When I would look at the cup and say, yeah, I say that all the time. And then I realized that I really do, because regardless of what happened in the past, and the past could be, oh, 1 second ago, it's the past because I can't change it. If I hit my hand on the table and it hurts, well, I can't change the fact that I hit my hand on the table and it hurts. What can I do? I can kiss it better. I can do different things, but I cannot change the fact that I hit myself. Same thing with different event, whether it's 5 years, 10 years, 20 years ago, you can't change them. So all you can do is be living right here and say, hey, it's all good. And if you can't find what's good about it, then that's your job to find out. You can be curious about things. You can look at things or try to see different perspective. How would I see this event 10 years down the road? And looking back, would I think that that's really important, or is just really I could just let it go? And things of the future, you can't control the future either, so it's all good. You don't know what's going to happen in the future. I have a system that's called the breakthrough system, and it's allow you to plan for your future, but not to predict your future. You take steps and you work through those steps, and it allows you to make a plan. But that plan is like plastic, it's flexible, it can change because you change, and things, circumstances moving forward change, and you don't know how, you can't control them. So that's why I call this show It's All Good, because life is too precious to live in the future or in the past. Live life right now. And right now, I have an amazing guest. Her name is Elisa Boogaerts, and she is a confidence coach. We all need more confidence from time to time. So let's welcome her in. Elisa, thank you so much for being here. I'm super excited to have you on my show.
Thank you. Yes, I'm so excited to be here, especially everything that you were just talking about not being able to change the past and what your whole show. It's very on point.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And tell me, inspiration by Elisa and confident coach. So tell me a little bit that your path that you took in order to get where you are now, because it's all good, right? You're where you are
It's all
at the
good.
moment. So tell me a little bit about yourself and how you got to where you are.
Yeah. Well, yeah, being in the transformation movement, I'm just like my mission sort of to help professionals confidently be themselves and realize their own worth and boost their self-confidence. And
Hmm.
I'm doing this because back in 2011, well, I feel like there was kind of like, yeah, like life has ups and downs, right? Your confidence goes up and
Yeah,
down. But
absolutely.
yeah, and 2011 was really like the sort of the major one for me. Was when I was at my rock bottom, and I had just moved to London, England. So I didn't have anywhere to live yet. I was homeless. I didn't have a job. I had just been traveling for backpacking actually for 7 months. So I was pretty much out of money. I knew about three people in London, and they were like acquaintances or friends of friends.
Yeah.
And my boyfriend and I had just broken up. So I was also
Mm.
heartbroken. And I really felt like just this puddle of mush. And it was really the first time that I felt that weight of depression on me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a woman that I had met actually while I was traveling, she moved to London a few months after, and she asked me like, "Well, now that you're here, something that you really wanted, what do you want out of your life here in London?" And I was like, I was just completely stumped. I was in such like a low place that
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't really like think for myself. I didn't know what I wanted. Like I was there and I kind of achieved that
Yeah.
goal. It was like a now what? And I wasn't even sure who I was anymore. But I did know that I didn't want to feel stuck or miserable anymore, right? And that question is really what lifted me out of my low state that I was in. It really gave me the freedom to think for myself, and I really
Mm-hmm.
started to like evaluate all different areas of my life, every part of it. What did I want? Who did I want to be? How did I want to show up in this world? Because I was in this amazing opportunity where I was in London by myself, so I could create
Could do
life.
anything.
I could do
Yeah.
anything. I could create it however I wanted. And
You
so
could cry and say, "Poor me, I'm all by myself. My broken and I broke up, and my life is horrible." Or, "Hey, the world is my oyster. I can do whatever I want."
exactly, exactly. But it can take a while to kind of like get out of that, right? You can feel really
Mm-hmm.
like low and everything's new. And then it's like, yeah, getting that perspective. And yeah, so from there is where I really rebuilt my life from the ground up. And I started to go after what I wanted in my life. And I set goals for myself and, use like mindfulness tools. I was introduced to this when I started like meditating and got introduced to affirmations,
Yeah.
really sort of like identified what I wanted out of certain things. And throughout
Mm-hmm.
and that's really that's when I feel like when my personal development journey, where I actually really started to focus on my personal development started. And so throughout the years, I developed this huge toolkit of ways to increase like my self-confidence so I could achieve my goals, what I
Yeah.
want in my life. And yeah, I feel like I really achieved so much. Like now looking back, I've got money in the bank and I have healthy conscious relationships and I love the home that I'm in and I'm living my passion with my business. But my life isn't perfect by any means, right? It's like
Hey,
continually.
but you have a better handle on how to live your life, right? You
Yeah.
have, like, if things go wrong, you're not going to go right at the bottom, because your level of your bottom is like probably 50 feet from the floor. Right? I mean, your bottom is not as deep as it used to be, so that's why when we work on ourselves, that's usually what happened, right?
Yeah, and you can like navigate those ups and those downs
Hmm.
easier, right? You
Yeah.
can kind of bounce back up faster.
Yeah.
And that's really what led me to be a confidence coach. And I actually created the confidence method, which is like my 10-step system to coach my clients on the skills and things that I learned to help them go
Yeah.
after what they want in confidence. And I just published a book on it. It just came out
Oh,
a few weeks ago.
congratulations.
Yeah, thank
Way.
you. Yes, it's on that exact method, confidence method. And yeah, because I just never want anybody to be stumped by that question of what do you want? Like I think it's
Hmm.
good to ask yourself that regularly. And if you don't quite know the answer, then that's something to get intrigued in. But the way that I literally like, I was like, I have no idea. And I've
Yeah.
met people as well who've just been like, oh, I really don't know, or maybe I haven't been asked that in a long time. And
Yeah.
I never want anybody to be miserable in their life or even to know what they want to do, but then not have the confidence to go after it, right? We have
Yeah.
like these
Yeah.
things that get in our way and we're just like, oh, I can't do that because of this, or I can't do that because of this.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I've just kind of made it my mission to help people with that, to help them go after what they want with confidence.
Well, that's awesome. Like, I totally understand where you were, because I moved to Vancouver 27 years ago now, coming up in September. And but at that time I was in a relationship where, I loved the guy, but he couldn't keep a job, and it was really difficult for us to do anything. So basically, you stay at home all the time. You might have one meal out every 2 3 months, one, and then the rest is like you count your cent and all that. And then, but then when I moved here, then all the money I had was just for me. It was not for the couple, right? And then, but I didn't know what to do. I didn't know, like, what kind of food do I like? I don't know. What kind of activities do I like to do? I don't know. Like, I was exactly like you. Like, I was totally erased because I was so lost in that relationship for the circumstances that I was into, that when I came out of it, I was like, I don't know what I like. I don't know what I want to do. I don't know what type of work I want to do. I had a background in such certain skills and stuff, but I was like, do I want to do that? What do I want to do? And
And even if
eventually,
you, at that point, if you were to kind of look back, like, well, what did I do before? That may not even resonate with who you are now,
yeah,
right? Like you
exactly,
may be so
exactly.
different. So it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
sorry.
So I totally understand that. And so you're now in Vancouver. So we live in the same city. We could
Yeah.
have almost done the show like side by side. But my question is, like, what brought you to leave England and then move here and then continuing your business here? So what's the path from England to here? So how did that work?
The job I was in, actually, I was working on this big program to move departments into different buildings. And if you got moved out of your city, like that you were living in, um, they couldn't force you. And so my department was being moved to another city,
Yeah.
and so they're like, well, you can either move and we'll help you move, or you can get a new job, or we'll give you like a package
Hmm.
and you can leave. And I was like, I'll take the money.
Yeah, yeah. It's time to
Why
move
not?
on. Let's move
Yeah,
on.
because in London I had been there for about 5 years, and I never really had
Okay.
a plan. Like, was I going to stay? Was I not? I was just sort of living life,
Yeah.
and at the time, so it was a bit of a crossroads, right? It's like, okay, what do I want now? Do I want to stay? Do I want to build a life here? Do I want to move somewhere different? Do I want to move back
Hmm.
home? And my grandfather was here in Vancouver, and he was in his 90s, and he had cancer and was starting to get dementia, and he didn't have
Hmm.
anybody to take care of him, and he was living on his own. And I
Mm.
thought, because by then, like, I had lived in London, but I was actually gone for, at that point, it was like about 10 and a half years that I had
Yeah, yeah,
been living
completely.
abroad.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
originally, when I went to go leave, I was like, I'll be back in 8 months.
10 years later.
Yeah, 10 years later, and so on. And I was just like, yeah, I just like, it's time to go home and, and go take care of him. And it
Oh,
just
that's
felt
nice.
really, really good. And so, yeah, so I took the money and I did some more traveling, and then I moved back.
Oh, that's great. That's a good story.
Mhm.
And then, so when did you actually started your coaching business? Because you develop all these skills. That's usually how that happen, right? We live life, we fall, we get back up, we teach ourselves from learning from a whole bunch of sources, and eventually we decided, hey, I have to teach that to other people. So how did that started?
Yeah, so I got introduced to coaching when I was living in London,
Hmm.
and I had the idea then, and I wanted to focus more on like health coaching, and like because I was a runner and I wanted to help people with that.
Yeah.
Um, and so I had just a few clients, and I even did some like volunteer career coaching. But then my career as a project manager really took off, and so it kind of went on the back burner, and it was on the
Hmm.
back burner for about 6 years, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then so I was living in Vancouver, and it kind of happened again, where like when I moved back, I sort of got roped into my old life and my little bit of my old ways of being, like we were talking about with you, like what you were like before is not who you're like now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just found myself a little bit again in certain parts of my life a bit miserable. I was like, things aren't the way that I want. And I feel like I wasn't me anymore. The person that I worked so hard to do and like build this life and who I am and
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
values, all of a sudden I wasn't living them anymore. And so through that, I really started to make some changes. And then I was like, especially when the pandemic hit, I was like, oh yeah, the coaching thing. Maybe I should bring that kind of back to life. And so
Yeah.
I did that. I found it, got some certifications. So now I have like 4 different coaching certifications.
Yeah.
And I started with the health coaching because health and being healthy is just such a huge passion of mine.
Hmm. Hmm.
But then as I was doing the coaching programs more and more, and you learn like what you learn of how to coach people, you also get coached in the program that I was in.
Yeah. Of course. Yeah.
And so it was like you were practicing it. And through that, I got like way more insight into actually what I wanted to help people with. And I realized I was like, actually, I think it's really to do with self-confidence, and it's really to do with helping people get out of that low state. I just realized that was kind of more my passion than the health coaching. So yeah,
Hmm.
so I started
Hmm.
my business about 2 years ago. No, wait, 3 years. No, 2 years ago.
Great. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
I don't want to go.
And
Yeah.
were you from Vancouver originally?
Yes. Yeah.
And that's the thing, like because you were away for 10 years, and I remember reading a book or a post at some point. We lose track now if we lose read thing on the internet and if we read a book, or at some point there's so much information out there, but that you can never move back home
Mm.
after a long period of time, because you were away for 10 years, you change, your life change, and then the people that were here, they change and their life change, and it's really hard to come back and things to be like just before you left, because everybody has grown in their own way, right? We all like have different life experience, and I feel like that when I go to Montreal, right? Because I've been here 27 years, and when I go to Montreal, it's not really home anymore, because it's I've changed so much, and the people that my sibling, my friends, or like they're not the same people anymore, so it makes it very interesting when you leave somewhere and you move back. So I can understand that you had a little down when you came back, because yes, you in your mind you was like, okay, I'll come and help my grandpa, and then you thought about all the things you used to do and the people you used to hang out with, perhaps, and then it's like, no, that's not like that anymore. We're all
Mhm.
different, and and now I'm with grandpa, and you know.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And it was very interesting how, yeah, how that kind of played out and how even, yeah, I just went back like, because when I did live in Vancouver before, there was some ways that I was that I didn't love about myself. And so that's when
Hmm.
I did that kind of internal work where I was like, oh, who do I want to be and how do I want to change? And actually, I don't want to be that way anymore. Okay, so like, how
Yeah,
can I change my behaviors? How can I do the rewiring in my brain?
yeah.
And then I just defaulted back to these old ways, and I was like, oh, I don't even like myself anymore. Like here I am again, like, oh, this is not the way I want to be. And yeah, you're right though. When I came back, because so I was gone from the ages of 24 to 35. And in that time, a lot of people got married, started
Of
having
course.
kids,
Okay.
right? And I came back and I was like single
Still with
and
your backpack, and
right. Yeah, yeah. And
like
everybody's like,
time traveling. You come back and everything has changed.
yes, yes, yeah. And then to just realize, oh, like our lives aren't really in sync anymore, which is
Hmm.
fine, right? Because you can grow apart as you do with friends. But that was, yeah, a little bit kind of, it was interesting to see and do and sort of try to rekindle those friendships. And like, oh, like, and that's okay that if it's not,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, like there was no hard feelings or anything. It was just,
Hmm.
we're so different now and therefore our lives are different. And then, yeah, rebuilding it and trying to find your people again.
Yeah, yeah,
Where
yeah.
does,
New people. You have to find a new tribe.
mm-hmm.
So you were mentioning when you moved to Vancouver, like you had a lot of internal talk, right? I'm sure there was like some self-judgment in there, and wanting to show that, yeah, I was away, but I was not wasting my time, that, like, try to show that, you didn't waste your time, or so all these thoughts in your mind when you come back and people don't see you the way you used to be, and you don't see them. And so how can someone overcome that from letting go, or having to be perfect, or being the image that other people expect us to be, or how do you deal with that?
Yeah, it's a tough one. I think that we all need to realize at first that we're all perfectly imperfect. It's
Mm-hmm.
actually one of the chapters in the book is about how imperfection is actually perfect for you. And so
Mm-hmm.
trying to strive for that is like almost unattainable.
Yeah.
And sometimes when we try to do that, we can get really stressed out and worried, about what
Mm-hmm.
other people think of us, or maybe we're going to do something wrong. And so people might criticize us. But the thing is that, someone's going to criticize you somewhere at some point because we're all so different. We all have such different perspectives. So what
No
you see
matter
is
what. Yeah, no
from my
matter
I
what.
mean, I see is perfect. Yeah, exactly, exactly. And even then, like we're likely going to judge ourselves even harder,
Mm-hmm.
right? And like say negative things to ourselves more than probably other people say them to us. And so when these judgments come up, and we're kind of like resisting an imperfection or something, what I like to do, the process I like to go through is really to acknowledge it at first, which can be difficult, having that self-awareness where you're like, okay, here I am in that
Accepting, yeah.
spiral. Yeah.
Accepting it.
Right. And even seeing it and then feeling it as well, right? What am I feeling right now? And like how I'm kind of putting myself down and then really getting curious about those thoughts and those feelings and challenge them. ask them, like, are these judgments really true? Or what am I, like in my case, maybe what am I trying to prove that, yeah, my life is great or whatever, and I was doing whatever living abroad. And then see if you can flip it to something that's more um, positive and more compassionate and more loving towards yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And you can do this by creating like an affirmation so that the next time it comes up, you can actually have a more positive way of speaking to yourself.
Mm. That's very interesting. I just had a call with someone earlier, and she was, how did she voice that? She was saying that, oh, she said, oh, I was so stupid, this and that. And I was like, you don't want to say that, because I'm so stupid. I should know these things and this and that. And I say, okay, let's rephrase that, let's rephrase that. I'm going through a challenging time right now. The situation I found myself into is something I never seen before, but I know that I'm going to be learning and I'm going to be moving forward and getting better at it. So we rephrase that for her, and we forget, right? We forget to talk ourselves kindly. So
Mhm.
so
Yeah,
why
and to
don't
be
you give
your
us
own best friend as well, right?
yeah,
To like,
absolutely.
would you say that to your own best friend? Like, no, you would tell them like, "Yo, you're doing great. You're learning. You're not stupid at all."
Yeah, yeah. So give us a few example of other type of example of positive affirmation. So for counteracting those negative talk that we have inside our mind, the self judgment and the problem we create for ourselves.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, one of the one that you actually brought up is like the perfect one, especially for me. Like I've had that a lot in growing up, in like, oh, I'm too stupid, and I've even been like, oh, I'm not going to bother, is like a way of uh, giving myself the reason to stop doing something because it was difficult, and so a way of an affirmation that I'd love to say with that is, I'm learning as I go, right, and I have everything that I need to succeed, and I'm a strong, intelligent, capable woman. I'm not stupid. I'm actually really challenged. Like, am I actually stupid? Like, no, I'm actually quite smart and I'm totally capable. And yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm strong. Yeah. Another one that can come up is I'll never have what I want. So this
Mm.
can be, maybe if we have a dream that we haven't fully realized yet, or don't think that we can actually have it. And the affirmation I love for that one is, because even like that, like, challenge it. I'll never have what I want. Like, never?
Never.
Really? Is it that absolute? Like, I doubt it, right? And so maybe you could say to yourself, well, I have the power to create this. So you do, you have
Uh-huh.
your power in
Uh-huh.
yourself to create it. And maybe it's just that first step towards achieving that goal. Maybe there's like 1,000 steps, but each journey starts with that first step, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, so I think that's the more kind way of speaking to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Or like, if you feel like you're falling behind on a course, like in all the courses that I've done, I've seen people do that. Well, I'm behind. I got to catch up. And it's like, well, maybe you're just exactly where you're meant to be.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have so much, even though you and I, I'm sure we still do have, self-judgment. The only difference between us and perhaps people that are listening is we catch it up faster, right? And then we reverse it right away. It's like, like if because I'm sure all of us, we tell ourselves from time to time, oh, I'm so stupid. But in reality, you might do stupid things, but it doesn't mean that you're stupid,
Right. Yeah.
right? Like you hit yourself, you don't hold the nail properly and you hit your finger instead of putting your finger at the bottom. That was a stupid act to put your finger on the top, right? In a sense, like, okay, you didn't really, think this through. You're smart and you know that you should put that there. You just kind of did a little mistake here, but that's okay. You know now to hold it at the bottom.
Right. Yes. Yes. So maybe be more mindful and know that you're
Yeah,
not perfect and it's
exactly.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
And so tell me, who's your client? Like, who do you work with, and what do they look like? What kind of clientele do you work with?
I really like to help professionals, like those working the 9 to 5, typically like over the age of 30, and the ones who are really exhausted and need some skills and tools to learn how to put themselves first without feeling guilty, so that they can
Mm,
reclaim their time and their energy and even their freedom, and like have that freedom in their lives. And I feel like so many of us, we can just get so bogged down with life, right? Like work, and there's so many demands on us, and there's like people in your life, and you feel like you have to do everything, and all the weight's on your shoulders, or maybe
yeah.
you're just a people pleaser, which is actually a very kind, generous thing to do, but it can get the better of us, right? It can
Of
really
course, of course.
burn us
Because at
out.
some
And
point we
so,
feel guilty to say no, because you always say yes. And when you say no, people look at you, what do you mean you don't want to do that? Oh, okay, I'll do it.
I'll do it. Yeah, yeah. And then you end up, yeah, never having any time for yourself or never doing
Mhm.
the things that you want to do, or even like having the space to even think about what you want. And so really I'd like to work with people to help them get all their time and their energy back and their freedom with that, and work with them on, yeah, saying no and not feeling guilty about it, and like nurturing your self-worth, and setting boundaries with people, and how to have maybe those difficult conversations, because it can be, maybe you know all the skills, but actually when you go to do it and have that talk, you're like, oh, you like bring yourself back again. So building up that self
Yeah,
confidence that
yeah.
it's okay for you to say no, or for you to speak your mind and maybe negotiate. Yeah. So that's those are the people that I like to work with.
Oh, that's wonderful. But what I realize sometime, and I do, we do not the same thing, but when we work with mindset and with people for them to enhance them and make them have a better life, we run to the same problem in a sense. Like my clients, sometimes there's been time where they wanted to make some changes in their life and they wanted to walk a different path than the path they've been walking in the last 15 years or so. But then at home people are kind of holding them back, right? It's like the crab in the bucket, right? If you're all by yourself, you'll climb out, and you'll be able to get out. But if you put 2 3 crab in a bucket, the other crab at the bottom, they'll keep holding the one that tried to escape. So how do you handle that as a person, right? When you have these crab or these other people in your household or your friends or your family that doesn't support you into changing and making those changes in your life. So how do you work with that?
Yeah, it can be so tough when you don't have that support, or they try and hold you back. And but sometimes they might do that because they feel threatened, almost, that when you
Mhm.
embark on a new kind of journey, and they may make negative comments about it, right? And they may even unconsciously, like, it may not be a conscious thing, but they may unconsciously hope that you fail or whatever it is that you're trying to do. And then we'll feel guilty that they feel threatened, right? And then we'll sabotage our own goals or new
Yeah, yeah,
lifestyle or things that we want, right? In
yeah.
order to be accepted by them, because as humans, we all want love and
Acceptance, of course.
safety, yes, and then belonging. So it's like, well, if I challenge that relationship, well, then I may, like, what is that going to do, and what does that mean for my life? But I really just want everybody to know that it's not your fault that they feel bad. That
Mhm.
we're not responsible for other people's experiences of what we want to do. And like, I know this was true for me when I did all that traveling. I would, I felt like I got like a lot of guilt trips. I always got like, oh, when are you moving home? When are you coming home? All the time. And I made an effort each year to come home, usually for Christmas. And I felt like that didn't seem good enough. Maybe the trip was too short. I only got to
Yeah,
see a friend for an afternoon, and they would complain about it instead of sort of being grateful. I felt like I was getting
yeah,
that
yeah, yeah,
negative pressure, right? And I was like, well, I'm doing what I want to do and live abroad, and I'm making an effort to come see you. But yeah, so this is really, if this happens, it's a perfect time to make a boundary, and to actually it's really healthy for you to uphold your boundaries and allow other people to have their experience of it, and really try
hmm
to separate from it. Because when we start to value ourselves more, our relationships, they can be forced to shift. And this is
yeah.
kind of where
Of
that
course.
it can get a
Yeah,
bit scary, right? So this
yeah,
is where we really need to like stay focused on our goals and set healthy boundaries for anybody that might challenge them, right? So what you want to do is let people in your life know that, you know, what that changes that you want to do, and that you're embarking on this new journey, and that it's why it's really important to you, that it is important to you and why. And it might
hmm
need to be repeated to them like a few times, but if
yeah,
you can
yeah,
do it in a kind and assertive and respectful way,
yeah,
I truly believe that they'll eventually come around if they're important people in your life. And if they try to make you feel bad, or feel guilty for all that you're doing, you're not spending time with them or whatever, I have this really good communication tool. What you do is you acknowledge that you hear them
yeah,
and what they might want, and then you explain how you feel and what you want. So you don't necessarily need to like apologize or anything, and be like, I hear you, I see you, like, I'm not invalidating you, but I'm doing this. This is what I want, and this is how I feel, and so I'm gonna that's what I'm doing. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And the thing is to make them understand that you're not living your life to go against their ideas, but you're living your life for yourself,
Yeah.
right? It's not in spite of them, it's like, oh, I'm going to do that to
Hmm.
piss you off, like I'm no, I'm living my life because that's where I want to be right now.
Yeah, and you
And
can even like have compassion with them and be like, I understand that this may mean that things are changing, or like, and but I can still work with you. Doesn't mean that I'm gonna kick you out of my life or whatever. Like, I understand things would be different, but they can still be good.
yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
So you talked about in our previous call that we've had, you talk about different ways of increasing your self confidence. So I think you mentioned that there was 2 or 3 ways. So what are those ways of creating self confidence?
Yeah. So the first one is actually what we've spoken about, is creating those affirmations, having that
Mm-hmm.
really positive self-talk and being your own best friend, because
Yeah.
we can really get in our own way, right? So in order to build up your self-confidence, if you're like kind to yourself and compassionate
Mm-hmm.
and loving, you'll feel more confident to do the things that you want to do. And then, yeah, the other one is also about the boundaries. So
Yeah.
setting up boundaries, learning how to communicate, and really being okay with that, like their experience of me setting this boundary or doing what I want to do, like, that's not my responsibility. And really trying to detach yourself from that, because sometimes
Yeah.
we feel like, oh, like they don't like it is okay, so I won't do it. And so we really just got to be like, it's okay. They can experience however they're going to experience. So yeah,
Yeah.
setting boundaries. And one of the third ones, yeah, that I love to talk about is visualization. Really
Mm.
visualizing the goal that you want and what it looks like in the future, and
Yeah.
actually really sitting with it and like feeling it, imagining what it's like. What do you hear? What are people saying to you? How do you feel? Like, are you like happy? And really like visualizing, making like a mental movie of it, really, of
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
what that future.
Seeing yourself there as if you were there, and
Yes.
that helps you build your self confidence because it gives you a like it's almost it's being with a shovel and digging your way into like creating your path, like creating your path in order to get to your goal. And that visualization is like, yeah, I'm going there, I can feel it. And when I'm saying digging with a shovel, it's almost like, and what it does in your brain, right, it creates neurological connection, it creates new connection in your brain, that now it's easier to think that way, it's easier to see yourself in that situation, it's easier to live that life, in your mind, but you're digging yourself, towards it. You're making the road, you're clearing up the path, to make yourself go into that life or that situation that you want to have with visualization. So I love visualization. It's very powerful.
Yeah, totally powerful. It just really makes it more possible to achieve it. It's
Hmm.
more possible. Yeah. Yeah.
And
It's
that
so
and that come with a warning, because visualization works
powerful.
whether you have negative thought or positive thought.
Good point. Yes. Yes.
Visualization works. So make sure you remember that. So if you're visualizing, oh my God, that's going to go so horrible, and I'm going to get to this place, and oh, they're not going to let me in, or whatever the situation is, right? Like, I want to buy that house. Well, there'll be a bidding war, and I'm not going to get it. No, you're not going to get it.
Right.
You're right. That's
Yeah.
what Henry Ford said, right? Whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right. So
Hmm.
that all goes in the same direction. So
Oh, that's
use
so
your
good.
visualization and your power of visualization, because we all have that power. So use that power to create good in your life, to create your dream, and to see yourself in the life you want to live.
Yes. And you can use that as well if you find yourself going to that negative place of like, oh, this negative thing's going to happen. You can use the same kind of tool we talked about, the affirmation, right? Like catching it and be
Yeah.
like, oh, how can I talk to myself more positively?
Yeah.
Feel it and be like, okay, like I understand that that could be a concern, potentially a possibility, but I'm going to choose to focus on it happening well, or turning out the way I want it to turn out, and
Yeah.
really
Yeah. Yeah.
make that conscious choice to think about something different and think about it in a more positive way.
Absolutely. It makes a huge difference in someone's life when they succeed to do that. You can create, literally write your future. You
Mhm.
can design your life for everything you want to have. Because some people wonder, like, how come they always get everything they want? And how come do they always get, the success, and they always get the clients, and they always get, and me, I don't get it. Well, that's because you say, and me, I don't get it, right? Because if you move in that direction, if you say, hey, I am confident, if it's not that person, I know it's going to be the next or the next one. I'm confident that today I'll have a couple of yeses. Let's say you're in sales, right? And you say, I'm confident I'm going to have yeses and I'm going to succeed, and the no get me closer to the yes, right? Like, so when you have a no, you're super excited. It's like, hey, I'm getting closer.
Yeah, and I can't remember if, like, I know one of my coaches said this, but I can't remember where the quote actually comes from, where they say that if you fail and you fall forward, at least you're moving forward.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
even
I like the
failure
idea. Yeah,
is a step in the right direction, you know?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Because if you don't try, you don't fall. You don't. Like, I remember when I first moved here, I was skiing a lot, and there's one person with whom I was skiing, and that person would never fall,
Hmm.
but it would be so like safe and not trying anything and not trying to go faster and not trying to get the next bump. Or for me, I would fall all over the place, but I would try different things, and I would experiment, and I would try a whole bunch of stuff. And in the end, I felt like I was, well, it was a better experience for me, I think, even though I fell and I became full of snow and everything. But I was feeling like, wow, look at that jump that I did. I never thought that I could do. Or all the things that you learn when you try and you fall, but you get back up and you say, okay, let's do that run again. I want to retry that jump. Or
Yeah.
you learn so much by falling, because
Yeah.
you just learn.
Yeah. And you've got to, like, not give up. Get yourself
Yeah,
back up and try again. And
yeah,
maybe
yeah,
tweak it differently, right? Okay, that didn't work this time. Maybe this will work this time. Yeah.
yeah. That remind me of Edison, right? That created the light bulb. And somebody would say, oh, you failed 1,000 times. You say, no, I found a thousand way of not doing it.
Right.
I didn't
Exactly.
fail 1,000 times. I found 1,000 way of not doing it, the way of not doing it. So now I know how to do it, right?
Yeah, and, like, good thing you kept trying.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
We
Look at
wouldn't
us,
have where we have today. You think of all the things that we have today, like, there were so many failures along the way.
Yeah,
Eventually, they found the way that worked,
yeah,
and we're all, like, have better quality of life for all of those things people
yeah.
did, so
Because I think that little conversation made me think, like, sometimes we look at a person, like, we idolize them, and we say, wow, she has it all together. She's like, she got this, she got that. But you haven't walked her shoes. You don't know how many times that person fell down and had to get back up and continue, and all the hurdle that person went through. And when we think that someone has it all together and their life is easy, well, it was not always like that, right? Like, they had their own path, and they didn't give up, and they probably had the confidence to keep going. And they probably had great coach, just like you, Elisa, and they were just being inspired by their coach and being inspired by the people around them, and they just kept going.
yeah, it just kept going, and maybe even now you see their life and it looks perfect, but there still could be challenges that you can't
Oh
see,
yeah, 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 for
so
sure, for
never
sure.
assume that anybody is. Yeah.
So I guess we look at that. It's already almost 20 minutes we've been talking. So before we go, do you have any last tip you would like to give people?
I would say that change takes time.
Hmm.
So to really be patient, right? And it takes commitment and it takes doing the work consistently, exactly what we were just talking about, right? Get up and go again. And I think that if you can create um, like systems that work for you in your busy life and
Yeah,
incorporate them and integrate them into your life, that it'll make it easier. So like when I think about affirmations for something that was really important to me, I wanted to do them. So I, would write affirmations, especially if it's something that I wanted to focus on. I would
yeah,
create 7 affirmations and I would put them in my phone as a reminder. So when I see them, I see it first thing in the morning. It's the same time my alarm goes off. And I repeat it to myself. And then as I get ready, I also say it to myself. So while I'm taking
yeah,
a shower, brushing my teeth, I say it in my head to really, really reinforce the affirmation. And that's my system. And I pair it with something that I'm doing already.
yeah,
And it's great because instead of maybe having negative thoughts or thinking about what I'm doing that day, or oh, I got to meet this person, I don't want to see them, or I don't know, whatever it might be. Instead of thinking of those things, I'm actually just like reinforcing
working on
part of
yourself.
my life.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
that's
and that's the
wonderful.
system. So yeah, create systems, I think, and be patient.
Oh, that's great. So I'm sure some people want to reach you. So people can reach you here. It should
Yes.
come up.
on my
come
website.
up? Yeah, on your website, right?
Yes, inspirationbyelisa.com.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And while they are there, I think they can find a little gift.
Yes, yes. So I have a tab is all about downloadables and free resources. And in there, you'll find this one. It's like the 4 boundary busters. It's for anyone who is always sort of putting others first, and maybe like the people pleasers, the peer pressure people, and we feel like we're always doing things maybe we don't want to do, and explains about the 4 things that can bust your boundaries to bits, and then
Yeah.
how you can like counteract that, and what you can do to not have your boundaries busted down by other people.
Nice, nice. That's
Yeah.
fantastic. So I'm sure people will really enjoy that gift. And because we always have people that try to push us down into to like those crab in the bucket, right? To hold us down because it's hard sometimes to see someone, like getting better and having better success. And we sit back and we say, oh, well, why don't I have that success? And why should they have it? So then they hold you back and they're not
Yeah.
helping you moving forward,
Yeah.
because they have
Yeah.
their own problem. And it has nothing to do with you. It's more like their problem, but then they decide to drag you in their misery. So I
Yeah. So
imagine
you want to
gift,
defend your inner space.
so that
And
gift will help them really put barrier and
yes, yes. And
defend
again,
themselves.
yes, yes. And the freedom to like put themselves first, right? Yeah, and
Yeah.
really defend their inner space. And so it's like a video series. So we get like 4 emails with a video for each
Oh,
day.
cool.
And they also have an affirmation in the email as well that's like linked to the boundary buster,
Oh,
and
nice.
a journal prompt as well. So you can like kind of integrate what you've learned. And then yeah, at the end you'll have some tools to start taking care of yourself by setting boundaries.
Cool. That's fantastic. I hope everybody, I'll put it back. I hope everybody take advantage of that because it sounds like a great tool. I might actually just sign up myself just to see what it's all about. A great tool to keep in case, I trip on my own feet.
Yeah. And it can be so easy for it to happen. You can think you can be really good at it, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh,
Yeah.
how am I
Yeah.
here? Why am I doing this? Yeah.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much, Elisa. It was such a pleasure to get to know you more. We have to go for a walk one time, you know?
Yeah. Yes, we're like neighbors. I'm so
I
excited.
think we live like no more than 15 minutes away from one another. So we
Yeah.
definitely got to meet up. So I'm really appreciate that you're here today, and I'm sure everybody will benefit from our talk. So I'll
Thank
put
you
you
so
away for
much.
a second. Just stay there.
All right.
Wow, what an amazing lady. And building your self-confidence is so important to really hold your ground and have posture, and when you make a decision, just to move forward and have the strength and the energy to build that decision to create your life for where you want to be in your life. So I'm so happy we're here. We're getting close to the 2-year anniversary. So just stick around, come and check it out I think it's next week or the week after. I have to check my calendar, but it's coming up really quickly. And I think it's next week. Shh, don't tell anyone. Now tell everyone to come and watch the show next week. That's going to be awesome. So until next time, be kind to one another. And I